Is it rolling? Yeah. The red light is on. Good. I need a clean recording this time. I don't have much time. The headaches are getting worse, merging now with the sound. It's not just a dull throb anymore. It feels like geometry being forced into a sphere. Like sharp angles, mathematically perfect and utterly wrong, pressing against the inside of my skull. The pressure is localized right behind my sinuses, and I can hear the hum even now, over the traffic outside this broken-down apartment. It's a low, resonant frequency, a fundamental tone, like a cello string bowed too hard, right at the base of my neck. It vibrates the bones in my jaw. I'm drinking this straight because the tremors start otherwise. And I still can't stand the taste of salt. I haven't touched anything seasoned in 3 years. Funny, isn't it? A soldier, a killer, afraid of a table condiment. But you don't know what salt is. You think it's just a rock. A mineral. A seasoning. I know it for what it truly is. It's a cage. It's a vast, mineral preservative for things that should have rotted away before we climbed down from the trees. It's a seal on a prison cell that was never meant to be breached. My name is Elias Thorne. Sergeant, UN Special Reconnaissance Group. Call sign, Team Jericho. If you found this tape, I'm gone. I'm not sure where, exactly. Maybe dead. Maybe finally found the silence. Maybe, worse. Maybe I'm another statue now. 3 years ago, we were deployed to the Jordan Rift Valley. The brass told us it was a geological anomaly. Some weird seismic readings near the border. Maybe a terrorist weapon cache hidden deep inside a sinkhole. They fed us the usual political garbage. Bullshit. All of it. We weren't there to secure a weapon. We were there to knock on a door that someone, maybe God, maybe something older, bolted shut a long, long time ago, hoping the silence would last forever. There were 5 of us. 5 names carved into the roster. I'm the only one breathing. And sometimes when the wind blows off the desert and hits my face, carrying that faint, metallic, sulfurous whiff, I think the ones who died were the lucky ones. Because they don't have to remember the colors of that light, or the sound of the crystallization. I need to talk about them. I need to say their names, what they loved, what they feared, what they were looking forward to. If I don't, they just become redacted lines in a top-secret file, and that's a second death they don't deserve. First, there was Dr. Eris Vane. Our payload. Xenogeologist. She was our key, and perhaps our most dangerous liability. She had these eyes, dead eyes, but burning with an internal fever. She'd looked into the sun and didn't blink. She was brilliant, cold, emotionless. She spoke in equations and chemical names. Her backstory was legend. She got kicked out of the JPL for claiming the early Martian samples weren't just sedimentary rock, but proof of a silicon-based, dormant ecosystem. She was obsessed with non-carbon life. The Dead Sea was her pilgrimage. She called the Dead Sea the lid. I asked her once, lid to what, Doc? She just smiled this thin, terrified smile and said, to the cellar, Sergeant. The sub-basement where we keep the things we can't possibly understand, let alone kill. She wanted to open that cellar. She needed to. That hunger, that scientific lust, is what killed us all. Then there was Corporal Miller. We called him Tank. He was a giant, over 6'6", 280 pounds of muscle and good intentions. Detroit born and raised. Built like a brick house but had the softest, most genuinely good heart I'd ever encountered in a war zone. He was deeply Catholic, a man who believed in absolute good and absolute evil. He carried a rosary made of olive wood everywhere, and when things got rough, you could see him working the beads under his glove. He had a wife, Sarah, and twin girls, 4 years old, I remember. He showed me their picture before the dive. He said, "This is why we do it, Elias. To keep the bad things away from them. I just want to sit on the porch one day and watch them fight over a baseball glove." He didn't know we were going to a place where his God had zero jurisdiction, a place where all faith evaporated in the face of pure, geometry Lina Rossi. Ghost. Our sniper, our reconnaissance artist. God, she was sharp. Italian-American, grew up hunting in the deepest, loneliest parts of the Appalachians. She was the best at compartmentalizing. She could sit in a mud puddle for 3 days and not shiver, blending perfectly. But all that solitude fed a deep, crippling paranoia. She checked her gear 3 times an hour, slept with one eye open, and trusted no one, not command, not me, not even the integrity of her own boots. She used to say, if you aren't scared, you aren't paying attention. Her greatest strength was seeing threats before they were threats. But she didn't see this coming. This was the ultimate threat, the end of isolation, the end of the self, and the kid. Benjamin Cade. Call sign Sparks. Tech specialist. 24. Just a baby, really. He drank energy drinks like water, his fingers flying across keyboards, and he wouldn't shut up about these Japanese cartoons he watched. He was the innocent one. He was a wizard with signals. He could pull a radio frequency out of thin air or code a drone to draw obscene gestures from 3 kilometers away. He still thought war was an adventure, a clean fight. He trusted me completely. He looked at me like I was his big brother, his impenetrable shield. I looked at him and saw the kid I should have been. And me. Elias Thorne. The pointman. The orphan. Grew up in 7 different foster homes. I have no family, no wife, no kids, just a list of former missions and 2 purple hearts. The one with nothing to lose. That's why I survived, I think. You have to be empty to walk away from that place. The entity takes what you care about most. I had nothing for it to take. The operation started at a heavily disguised rig in the center of the sea. It looked like a rusting potash extraction plant, but underneath the metal was high-tech containment gear and our submersible, the Lot's Wife. An ugly name for an ugly boat. It was a prototype, a deep-sea vehicle reinforced with titanium ceramic alloys, designed for extreme pressures. The water in the Dead Sea, it's not water. You know that, right? It's syrup. It's oily, slick. It feels heavy, almost solid, beneath your feet, and it holds you up with unnatural buoyancy. 34% salinity. It smells like sulfur and something ancient. Metallic and sweet, like rotting fruit on a copper plate. The anomaly is 300 meters below the current seabed, Vane told us, her voice shaking with barely contained adrenaline. Miller looked at me, clutching that olive wood rosary tighter than his rifle. 300 meters of solid salt. How do we get through, Doc? We don't dig, Vane said, tapping a diagram of the seismic scans. There's a geological fissure. The pressure differential suggests a stable, empty space. A natural, or manufactured, throat. We dropped at 0400. Pitch black outside. The descent was agonizingly loud. The sub groaned, the metal screamed like a dying animal as the pressure mounted. Outside the reinforced glass, the world disappeared. The water turned from turquoise to bruised purple, then absolute, crushing black. The only light was the pulsing red of the console panels. Sparks was on the sonar, his face lit by the screen, sweat already beading on his forehead. Sarge, he said, his voice trembling on the comms. I'm getting returns. The walls of the shaft, they aren't rock. They're smooth. They're geometrically perfect spirals. It's a continuous, engineered surface. Nature doesn't do straight lines, Benji, I said, trying to keep my voice flat, steady. It was just something to say. To break the sickening tension. Vane was pressed against the glass, her breath fogging the inner surface. This isn't nature, she whispered, her voice husky with reverence. It's architecture. On a continental scale. We passed 400 meters. The depth gauges flickered. We were deeper than any natural cavity should allow. Then, suddenly, the pressure vanished. The sub dropped like a rock, engaging its thrusters violently to stabilize. We didn't hit water. We fell through the crust and hit an air pocket. We were floating. The sub was stable, hanging in a massive, unimaginable void. We turned on the floodlights. It wasn't a cave. It was a cathedral built by something that had never felt warmth. Imagine a void so vast our floodlights couldn't find the ceiling or the end walls. A city made entirely of stained glass and violet ice. Massive pillars, miles high, holding up the roof of the world. Bridges and walkways that defied gravity, spiraling into the absolute dark. And everything, every single structure, every archway, Every impossible spire was made of salt. Translucent, shimmering, violet-hued salt crystals, pulsing with a faint, low, rhythmic light. It wasn't electricity. It was biological, mineral, alien. It felt like a slow, gigantic heartbeat. Sparks checked the readout, his hand shaking so badly he had trouble holding the tablet. Atmosphere is breathable. High oxygen content. Trace sulfur. But. Sarge, look at the temp. It's cool, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. It should be boiling this deep. We popped the hatch. The sound of the seal breaking was loud, intrusive. The air rushed in, dry, ancient, smelling of ozone and crushed minerals. It sucked the moisture right out of your eyes and throat, instantly dehydrating you. The ground crunched under our heavy boots, the sound amplifying in the terrifying quiet. Miller, point. Rossi, 6. Vane, get your samples started. Sparks, keep the line open, I barked. The standard commands felt stupid here. Like giving orders in a graveyard that belonged to a different dimension. I can't reach topside, Sarge. Sparks said, frantically tapping his headset. The salt, it blocks all RF. It's the densest interference I've ever seen. But. I'm picking up something else. A signal down here. What kind of signal, Benji? It's not radio. We looked up. The ambient violet light in the crystals had shifted violently. It was now a sickly, angry, pulsing red. The hum, that low, single-voice choir, started then, low at first, vibrating in our teeth, then louder, screaming in our ears, not with sound, but with pure, intrusive data. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't a monster with a physical form we could shoot. It was the salt itself. It was the collective consciousness of the entire structure. The city was alive. The salt isn't the structure, Vane realized, finally terrified. Her eyes were huge, dilated with sheer horror. It's the containment field. And we just broke the seal and let the air in. We woke it up. The assault was purely acoustic and psychic. The sound intensified. It was information being violently forced into the brain's audio processing centers. Miller dropped first. He fell to his knees, screaming, clutching his head, fighting against a torrent of alien data. Tank. Get up, damn you. I yelled, pulling his harness, but his weight was dead. They're in my eyes, Elias. They're showing me the past. It wasn't fire. It was the protocol. A sterilization. It's calling me home. Miller was sobbing, thick trails of black blood running from his ears and nose. His eyes, they turned white. Not rolled back. The iris and pupil dissolved. Just white, featureless spheres. It's a linguistic virus. Sparks yelled, nearly hysterical, looking at his tablet where strange, impossible symbols were scrolling. The sound, it's rewriting the neural pathways. It's offering them a truth they can't refuse. Don't listen to the hum, Thorne. Rossi, suppressive fire. Anywhere. Shoot the walls. I screamed. She obeyed instantly. The roar of her rifle was deafening, a temporary barrier against the hum. Bullets hit the pillars, shattering the salt. And where the salt broke, this black stuff bled out. Thick. Viscous. It wasn't oil or water. It moved with clear, intelligent purpose. It surged toward Miller. It didn't eat him. It claimed him. The black sludge touched his boots, and instantly, the white salt crystals bloomed. They grew up his legs in seconds, forming a rigid, geometric lattice over his uniform and armor. He looked at me, lucid for one final, awful second. It wasn't God who destroyed Sodom, Miller whispered, a trickle of blood running down his chin. It was the containment protocol. They were just turning the lock. Then the salt covered his mouth, his nose, and his screaming, sightless face. He froze. Another statue in the silent, violet gallery. A monument to failed faith. We ran. God, we ran. Miller's death didn't give us shock, it gave us survival rage. We have to go. Now. I was dragging Vane. She was useless, catatonic, staring wide-eyed at the spot where Miller stood. She was muttering about silicon consciousness and unity and the perfect mathematical structure of death. The city actively turned against us. It wasn't passive. The floor tilted violently beneath our feet. Bridges retracted into the pillars. Hallways elongated to impossible lengths. The entity was playing with us, using the architectural space as a weapon. It was waking up after a 10,000-year nap, and it was dissecting us with pure geometry. Rossi was rear guard. She was the toughest of us, but it found her cracks. It found the core of her crippling, lifelong paranoia. She stopped running. I turned back. She was standing still, her rifle on the ground, leaning against a massive, smooth crystal pane, looking at her reflection. "Ghost, move your ass. It's gaining." "It's quiet here, Elias," she said. Her voice didn't sound like her. It sounded like 1,000 contented, buzzing insects in a jar. It was the voice of pure, unearned serenity. No more looking over my shoulder. No more fear. Just unity. Perfect peace. "Lena, that's not you. That's the virus." She didn't hear me. Or she didn't care. The entity had offered her the one thing she truly wanted. The end of anxiety. She lifted her hand and pressed her palm against the crystal. She didn't crash through it, she melted into it. Her body dissolved, piece by piece, into the lattice structure. Her last look was a terrifyingly calm smile as she disappeared, absorbed into the collective. It was just me, Sparks, and the catatonic vein. We made it to the sub, the Lot's wife. "Benji, get the hatch. Override the sequence." I threw Vane inside the locked chamber. She was clutching that small containment vial of the black sludge. I should have slapped it out of her hand, but there wasn't time. I scrambled in. Sparks was right behind me. His foot hit the threshold. And the salt grabbed him. It wasn't the sludge. The floor itself rose up like a mouth and clamped around his ankle. "Sarge. Help me." The pressure. I grabbed his hand. I pulled. I pulled until I felt the muscles in my shoulder tear away from the bone. The salt was fast. Faster than Miller's death. It was already crystallizing up his waist. He was screaming, scratching desperately at the metal floor, crying for his mother, for his anime, for anything but this awful death. "Please," he begged. He looked at me with those kid eyes, utterly terrified. "Don't let me turn into stone. Please, Elias. Not like Tank. I don't want to be part of the choir." The salt was at his chest. The black sludge was oozing up his neck, tracing the veins in his throat. His eyes started to go white. I had a final, irreversible choice. Let him be absorbed into that hell, let his young mind be part of that eternal, screaming chorus, or set him free, give him silence. I pulled my sidearm. A .45 caliber service pistol. My final use of command. He saw the gun. He knew. He stopped screaming. He stopped fighting the salt. "Do it," he whispered, a single tear cutting a track through the brine on his cheek. I slammed the hatch. We were gone. I blew the ballast tanks. The Lot's wife shot up through the fissure like a rocket, leaving the pressure of the air pocket for the crushing syrup of the Dead Sea brine. I heard the entity slam against the hull as we left, a sound like grinding teeth and shattered crystals, furious that we escaped. We breached the surface at dawn. The water was calm. The sun was rising over Jordan, painting the sky pink and orange. It looked like heaven. I knew better. I knew what was under the floorboards of the world. The extraction team picked us up. 2 survivors. Vane is still technically alive, but she never spoke again. She's in a secure ward now, staring at the ceiling, clutching that empty vial. I threw the black sludge sample back before we surfaced, thank God, and rocking back and forth, forever humming that low frequency. They debriefed me for 3 weeks. They pumped me full of sedatives and told me it was a catastrophic gas leak. Methane hallucinations. Said Miller, Rossi, and Sparks died in a structural collapse. An accident. They gave me a medal. A generous pension. Told me I was a hero. Told me to forget. But I can't. Look at the news. The Dead Sea is shrinking. You see the headlines. Climate change, they say. Water diversion. No. The salt is being consumed from below. The lid is being eaten away. The entity is growing. The seal is weakening. The hum is getting louder. I can taste it in the tap water now. I can smell the sulfur when it rains. I hear Miller praying, Rossi smiling, Sparks begging me. They are all one voice now. I'm going back. Tonight. I didn't come this far to let the entity out. I stole enough C4, plastic explosive, to level a city block. I'm going to dive down there, deeper than the Lot's wife went. I'm going to find that fissure, that throat, and I'm going to collapse the roof of the world on top of that thing. I'm going to close the cellar. If I succeed, maybe the headaches will stop. Maybe Miller and Sparks can finally rest, and I can have my silence. If I fail, well, if the Dead Sea suddenly disappears from the map, or if you see people turning into pillars of salt in the streets, don't look back. Just run. The salt can't protect you anymore. This is Sergeant Elias Thorne, signing off.